Welcome to the Crockpot. Happy to have you all here, and it's time to see what's cooking. For today, got the national championship. Of course, it was a big hype from the whole weekend. Me and my producer, the Pretty Boy Champ, had a little discussion over what we thought was really going to go down this weekend, and we saw it all the way from the Final Four all the way up through Monday evening. We're also going to be taking a look at the NCAA Women's Championship, and I also want to give great applause to Vanderbeer. I believe it's Vanderbilt. You know what? We'll talk about it later. So, NCAA Men's Championship. Gonzaga versus Baylor. Of course, this is what everyone wanted. The matchup that everyone wanted all year long. After their canceled game in December, due to some guys with COVID from Gonzaga, they came out and said it was, first of all, it was one non-member of the team, and it was one member of the team. And they thought that they could make it work, but they were unable to do so. I wrote a little article back in January about how Baylor was a force to be reckoned with and how this is the game that we will likely have to wait for in the championship. All brackets aside, I don't have any issues with how everything went down. I don't typically put ones in my championship. I kind of think that's like, for those of you who follow horse racing, is more so picking the gray horse to win or picking the favorite, which only happens 33% of the time. Fact check it. Want to go ahead and roll some highlights here from the game before I get into talking about the nitty-gritty and some of the details. So go ahead and take a look what we have right here.
Good in that area of the floor. It
was just a dominant force throughout the entire contest. You watched Baylor pull up in the first, go up 12 to 1. I think it was 11 to 1.
Get the lingerie on the deck.
They went up heavy on them. It was a very difficult task to ask Gonzaga to go and get all the way back
with the left hand
from where they were. But we saw the end result. And there's a highlight that you can't see between the 3-minute mark and the 2-minute and 15-second mark. Whereas, I believe it's Jared Butler saves the ball from out of bounds, attempts to get it to his own teammate, and then from there, he ends up passing it back to a Gonzaga player. Now, he's off the screen, and he's on the sideline. Sprints back over to contest a three-point shot from the other side. This is with 2 minutes and 40 seconds or so remaining in the game. And I was just so amazed by the fact that they went so hard. They never ran out of gas all game long. So just a little look at, about 50 seconds of what was going on up towards the end of the game. And we could have shown a whole lot more, obviously, courtesy of
Get the lingerie on the deck. Call the janitor.
So congratulations to Scott Drew and the Baylor Bears. These two teams actually had the best combined winning record. It was 58-2.
Start over, basically.
Gonzaga being undefeated and then Baylor only losing 2 games. That was the best record combined in a national championship over, of all time. So there have been a lot of great matchups in the championship, and they had the
2 more.
So
Scott Drew's dream comes true.
A lot of the key players, you're talking Teague, Butler, Lil Mitchell. I believe it's Davion Mitchell. Looking like a little Donovan Mitchell out there. The cat just goes hard all the time. And I know there are some opinions that differ across the board. One thing that needs to be made apparent, and if you didn't know, is the fact that these guys, they've had depth and they've been doing this all year long. And Gonzaga, of course, is a great team, and they made it here, but the fact that maybe it's the recruits, they're not getting everything that they need completely, there's just something that they're missing, and it's depth. When you're able to continue to bring guys off the bench that continue to, foul up, literally, you have guys 3-4 fouls in trouble, you can bring in more guys. They have like 3 dudes who can play in the paint and go hard on it. Meanwhile, when you have subs from Gonzaga, who has to sit down with 2 fouls in the beginning of the game. Understandably so. Your star player who wins the game for you against UCLA is not going to, his presence is not going to be felt the same way that it would be if the rest of the team. You don't have a backup guard to put on the floor to do what he can do. There's only one guy. And statistics show Gonzaga starters are playing anywhere from 36 to 40 minutes.
He was just setting it up the whole time.
That goes to show you that you put your best guys on the floor, yes, but you also need something to supplement that. And when Timmy was out of the game late,
Kispert with the
they
left
had no
hand.
answer for it. He was getting his leg worked on and all the rest of that.
Against KU.
Pretty boy, I know that we differ in this opinion.
They start over
But tell me
basically as Mitchell
what you thought about the championship, and also give me your take on how drained Gonzaga was.
Well, like we discussed yesterday, I just think that Gonzaga had a lot to deal with as far as their Final Four matchup in the overtime. That was with UCLA was so emotional and so draining that, like, it is, even at 19-20 is really hard to recover physically. And then you get a team like Baylor, who watches Clark Kellogg and Jay Billis and Dick Vitale, and everybody say how Gonzaga's going to run through them and how they're going to, Baylor has pride. They're athletic. They're young too. So they hear that. And they also have the energy because they were about 25 points against Houston. So you blow the doors off a team and you're sitting on the sideline, you got your mask on, you're laughing, you're joking, as opposed to another one who's sweating bullets. And they played the second game, too. So you got a less time to recover, a much harder test. It just seemed like Gonzaga really didn't have that energy. Like when you came out and it was 11-1 and Baylor blitzed them, they never seemed to be able to even find the energy to recover. I mean, because they went down by, 16, 18 and cut it to 9. Mm-hmm. But they never got closer than 9, so they never got closer than that initial burst from the beginning of the game. Like from there, they were defeated.
It's a very difficult feat, especially when you're playing against a high-powered team like that. I mean, their motors were running on, turbocharged. Cool. And a lot of these guys, it's just unbelievable to think about the way that they played just with so much energy. One, you're likely coming in with a chip on your shoulder. It's a game that you were preparing for in December and had it stripped from you. People were constantly arguing who was the better team all year long. And then in addition to that, now it's like, well, you obviously want to be able to break up that streak. And it's very difficult to go undefeated the entire way, which the last team to do it was Indiana State with Larry Bird in 1976.
I want to ask you a question. Do you, hypothetically speaking, is there a possibility that Baylor could have ran the table had they been able to beat Gonzaga in December and give them that? Because it almost seems like Baylor had everything rolling, and they got to the end of the year, and it was just almost like, we're going to be a number 1 seed. We're one of the best teams. Like, you didn't see that supreme focus that they had been playing with all year. And I think that had they got to see Gonzaga, they might had a different goal going in because they were really talented when you watched that national championship game.
I credit the big chips. You have big chips on your shoulder, and playing the schedule that they play and some of the teams that they play with Kansas, I believe, was one of their losses, and they had lost 2 games, which isn't much. But you also think about how when you have losses, your coaches, Scott Drew, he's honing in on all of that information. He's honing in on, look, guys, here's what we did really bad in these games. And I don't have the statistics to be able to show, but I'm sure that they weren't shooting 60% from 3, right? So when you have guys like Jared Butler, who was actually the most outstanding player of the tournament, he was able to receive that award, but these guys were shooting 60%. So in those losses, you may have had that, and you can only control what you can control, but you still trust the process, and these guys continue to run the floor, get after them. You see that defense on them? I mean, it was like white on rice, and it was unbelievable just seeing. And I know there should not be that much disparity in talent because you're talking about Mark Few here, and argumentatively, I love to be able to razz other individuals, and I've given much grief to other individuals in this program here at Score on Air. And I like doing it. We talked about a couple weeks ago how I got in a fight every year from kindergarten to 6th grade. You know, I'm not looking to throw hands. I'm a grown man now. We talked about how I was 30. But still, it's fun to be able to challenge people. And it was also brought to the table that, you know, I'm like, look, trash on Gonzaga. It was like my bracket was trash from the start, you know? I mean, just absolutely. And you know what? I'm not even going to show the image of my bracket because it's not, y'all would discredit everything I'm doing if you haven't already.
I mean, you can't really say that. I mean, we got guys in here that were picking Old State to win it all. So,
yeah. Stay tuned for 365 after this. It's. I hope that comes up. Hopefully, someone brings that up with the gentleman Smitty because it's. I'm sure it's a sore subject for him. But a couple things I want to go over. Can Baylor repeat the championship?
No.
I would also doubt, but it is a question I believe you bring to the table is, can they repeat the championship? That's going to be difficult, especially you have some of these guys who are likely going to be going to the league. Chachua, I mean, they've got, and I'm not even completely sure over all of these guys that they have, but obviously Davion Mitchell's like, yo, he's wearing number 45. Just like Donovan Mitchell, he's ready to go. He's like, that little dude, his motor goes. He goes. I just like him.
That is one of the worst numbers ever. I don't like dudes that are really good and wear ugly numbers. Like Luka Doncic, take that number off. You should be wearing number 1. What are you doing wearing that 77? 45 on the Spider is just ugly. Stop it.
I mean, but the greatest wore 45.
No, he didn't. He wore 23.
And then
he wore 23
because he didn't perform at 45. Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, he wore. I mean,
you remember when he took off the 45 at halftime and went back to? Was it a halftime?
Nah,
it was the following.
It was. He took off 45 after they lost his 6 to
It was
Orlando.
His next game though, which was the following.
But
season.
he had wore 13. He had wore 55. 45. He said it didn't feel. But it wasn't like he wasn't a baller in 45.
Oh no, he still took care of it.
But he looked. But doesn't he look good in 23?
No, 23 looks way better. I agree with you. 45, right. It is. It's ugly. It's ugly. It's not a basketball number. And when
what number is it? Because I don't think a sweet 45
is like a baseball number.
Is it? Okay,
it's got to be. I don't know.
Football. I don't.
It's a fullback's number.
That's not a sweet number. 45. It doesn't go good anywhere. 44.
44 is cool.
It's good.
Was Mike Allstott 44?
I mean, there's a lot of good 44s. I mean, 44 is not an ugly
Riggins
number.
was number 44.
See what I'm saying?
The Washington football team from 1991 that was non-existent at that time. Remember that 4th and 1 run? We don't have the clip. But sorry. Y'all look it up on YouTube. John Riggins' run on 4th and 1 is great. Anywho, so no team has ever gone an entire season undefeated from start to finish through the NCAAA tournament prior to the teams that were there. So it's since 1976, with that being said. So take this away. Baylor, 60% from 3 points in the first half. Second half, first turnover was 12 minutes in after Meyer had ran out of bounds with the ball on a cut to the basket. And then most outstanding player. To highlight, there's only 5 teams who went undefeated into the tournament. Since 1976, Wichita State, 2014. You remember Kentucky's loss in 2015 and the Final Four. Gonzaga, obviously, this year. Congratulations to Coach Mark Few. Came up just a bit short. I heard he's got a great recruiting class coming through. In addition, UNLV, which I had thought that they went the entire way. I think we talked about this a few weeks back. You talked about their season in the 90s that they had gone back. But they had another Final Four loss. That was in 91. And then Indiana State and Larry Bird lost in the championship as well. So Indiana, I said Indiana State earlier was the last to do it. 75-76 season. Indiana, 32-0.
33-0 in 1979 for Bird.
I have word from a birdie somewhere that said something, but I don't see that anywhere in my research. So I'm going to go ahead and just we're going to put the kibosh on that. Moving on to NCAA Women's National Championships. And at this point, I understand, you know what, as a matter of fact, what I want to do right now is go ahead and take a brief break. But when we come back, we are going to be highlighting the NCAA Women's National Championship. Is there anything that, okay, it's Coach Vanderveer. So I think I called her Vanderbeer earlier, but maybe in, Germany or something, it's Vanderveer. She first championship since 92. She's been there for 30 years. It's incredible. They've done great. But when we get back, we're going to go ahead and talk about her. Also talk about Ari McDonald and the impact of a missed free throw in the game. You're watching the Crockpot on Score on Air.
In sports, you want to have a player that can get the job done right every time. A real all-star, somebody that's dependable and you can turn to when the game is tough. That player in the audio-video industry is the theater people. From setting up your home's Wi-Fi network and offices, conference rooms, to setting up home theater inside or outside, to setting up the systems to make your home run smarter and safer as well. The theater people can do it all with the quality of professionalism you can expect every single time. That isn't just a great all-around player, that is an all-star. That is why we are the leaders in audiovisual installation in Central Ohio. So call us at 614-604-6327 or check out our website at ttpcolumbus.com to figure out which products will fit you. And don't forget, amplify your personality with the theater people.
Design ideas for t-shirts but you're not sure where to go? Go to Mojo Sports Gear. That's right, Mojo Sports Gear. At Mojo Sports Gear, you can get custom-made shirts. Whatever design you need, Mojo Sports Gear can provide it. Don't forget to grab a custom-made cap on your way out and rock the best headgear in the game. Give them a call at 614-864-6656. That's 614-864-6656.
If you didn't happen to catch the NCAA Women's Championship, that's all right. I mean, it was on Sunday night. I actually had some difficulty finding it. I had figured that it was going to end up being on, on CBS or something, but it ended up being on ESPN, which I'm a subscriber, ESPN Plus, and it was wonderful. Having watched that game, there were a few different things that I saw. And as you can see, the visual here that we have, the twins from Stanford being able to, run off the floor. And this is a little pick stitch that's put together. And the young lady lying on the floor, no, she's not dead. But I think that she was very upset. She probably had some thoughts of her own during that time. But, they basically stepped over her. And, I mean, it's not funny. It's as upsetting because the whole time they kept showing her family who was up in the crowd. And I love that because the hype the lack of hype that is received in the women's and college sports it's almost like it's still high school because everyone's so close and all your family and stuff's coming to see you. And Pretty Boy, did you happen to catch any of this?
Yes, I caught a substantial amount. And this is a big thing we talk about on my Conscious by Nature podcast, women in sports and the lack of respect that we give them as men when they have the platform. Like they have the ESPN Tuesday night game that should have been plastered everywhere. The promotion should have been done a lot better, but I did like the way they kept showing her family and highlighted a player as a star, but which really was demoralizing is that she didn't come through. Yeah. And you can't, and see, that's the hardest thing to do is make for drama, but then make for adulation too. Like you need her to come through to make it a thing. So, she kind of let us down.
That's the storyline. Right? You said you kind of let us down. The storyline here, and she felt she let the entire team down. If you just look at this young lady, is heart and soul. And they went and trapped her on the three-point line when she got the inbounds pass. There are articles stating, should she have passed the ball? There was nowhere to go. There was nowhere to, she was trapped. She had three defenders on her. If she was able to get the ball somewhere, probably too late, and she's the highlight player on the team. So looking at her and some of the abilities, she was the showstopper all game long. And This is Stanford's first championship since '92 with Coach Vanderbeer. She's also now the winningest coach in NCAA history, NCAA women's history, passing Pat Summitt for wins, which is awesome. And congratulations to Coach Vanderveer. She takes care of business. Now, Haley Jones was named the most outstanding player of this contest, or of the tournament, and that girl is bad. I mean, that girl she tears it up. Her left was unstoppable, and it was left from anywhere in the paint. She got that ball. She was hitting mid-range. She was able to lay. I mean, I saw stuff from Haley Jones that I was like, dang. And I was wanting to, just going to jump in the DMs real quick because I was like, Haley, look, I know that we could end up having, I'm
very attracted to your game right now.
Yes. And, I could say something like that. And, down the road, through marriage and some other things, some other options, I'm just doing what I can here on Score on Air. And I figured maybe we could have some Big Ten babies. I don't know. We could go half on some. I don't know.
She's a Pac-12 player.
I'd like to upgrade if I can. Could I buy a Big Ten? No, Pac-12 is good. And Stanford, she's obviously very smart. So I don't know if I could purchase a Big Ten slot, and that's fine because if that's who's winning, I'm sure she wants her daughter or son to go to Stanford or whatever. But I prefer USC, and we could talk about it really. Haley, just call me maybe. So anyway, but Haley, man, and she's beautiful, and I can appreciate her game because she just went out there and got after it. And there's so many supporting players on Stanford team that it was known like they were going to win this game. And that's something that you go into, much like people thought Gonzaga was going to end up winning their game. And they just came up short. But Stanford was the perennial powerhouse in this matchup. A first-time coach, a black women's coach for Arizona. Her name it's not coming to me right now. But that was her first trip with this great team, and I do believe that she's going to end up being very successful in the future at Arizona, given that she's going to have more girls wanting to come through. Now back to Ari McDonald. Ari McDonald had an opportunity when fouled to go to the free throw line. And I had received chirps from several individuals, one of them being my coworker. I'm talking to you, Mr. Mills, telling me that, oh, you can't just say that one thing in the game affected the whole game. You could just say that anything affected the whole game. When that ball went out of bounds, when that happened, when this happened. Yeah, I'm sounding like you. And I just disagree. And I'll take as many comments as whatever, but when you are tied up, you've been making all your free throws, you should see the pain on a father's face when he's looking at her daughter and there's some families where you know how hard that like your parents go if you've had that parental support over your life, how they're your toughest critics. Yo, the look on Mr. McDonald's face when Ari missed that free throw was pure disgust. And it didn't matter if she was playing in a little league game or if she was playing in the national championship in college. I'm sure that 15 years ago when she was playing and she wasn't making those free throws. Quick example. My father, when I had aspirations to be a fullback, I know you're looking at me like, no, there's no way that was ever going to happen. So anyway, I was in junior high and I had a swing pass. And then I only got like 3 or 4 snaps because I played guard. And they're like, all right, we'll give you a shot. We're losing so bad because all my teams were terrible. Brook Park Middle School, shout out. And, I go out for this swing pass, this nice little bubble, and they hit me, man. This sucker goes right in the hands. We, had to punt the ball away, and then the other team scored again and whatever.
You didn't catch it?
No.
Oh.
I guess I thought I didn't have to say it, but thank you for making me say it. I dropped the pass.
Okay. Well, no one, you were showing like, it was right here. And you was like, did you catch the ball? It was right there. Did you catch it or what? Did they light you up? I mean, what happened?
Yeah. No, I didn't. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to just plead the fifth and say we punted the ball away, but look, regardless, so I go off, trot on off to the sidelines or whatever after we punt, and they, scored on the punt return, and, it's all my fault, whatever, a lot of shame. And I didn't think it was that big of a deal because I don't get that many reps. And my dad was on the sideline at the fence, left work early to get there because middle school games are like at 4 o'clock. And he looked at me and said, we throw the ball all the time. If you're not going to catch it, you should rethink playing football. And I was like playing all together? You know what I mean? Like, I was just hurt. You know what I mean? I was just hurt. So I can imagine what a parent of a child playing in the national championship, probably been to each and every one of her games throughout her entire lifetime, just the pure disgust when she missed this free throw. Now, leading up to say, the point being made, they lost by 1. And that was in the final 3 minutes of the game. They were going back and forth. She has an opportunity to shoot this free throw. I believe that they had the lead at some point during the game. And she goes, shoot 2 free throws at the line, misses the first one, makes the second one. So then they're down constantly. And then they go ahead and take the lead for a second, but that differential was what lost them the game. So I'm sure that that's painting her in this visual of her laying there like, yo. I mean, is that not what are you not thinking about that ever? That one shot, that one free throw that you missed. I know it could have been, and the guy from work is sitting there telling me it could have been from the first half, but it's in the moment.
Who was that guy from work? What's his name? What's that guy's name? I'm going
to refer to him as Mr. Mills.
Mr. Mills is an idiot. Okay, Mr. Mills, you're an idiot. Mr. Mills, you're an idiot. Okay,
tag Mr. J Mills at Instagram Live. Go ahead.
That free throw cost in the game, and when you're the best player on the team and you miss and you cost yourself the game, like, no one has to tell you that. No one has to tell Ari you lost your team the game. No one feels worse than she does. No one has to live with that empty feeling that's eating at her for missing that. She'll never live that down. She could win 10 WNBA titles, and she'll forever think of that NCAA. No one can ever make her feel worse than she already feels. Mr. Mills, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, and from a guy who played NCAA football at Michigan State, went to the Rose Bowl, got it tatted on his arm. I mean, everything. I know I'm coming at you hard right now. And you should. I hope that you're watching. I hope that you're watching, but I know that you're not because you're on break right now. And you probably just sitting chilling. But I want the point to be made that is an error. That's a human error. And those things happen. But the girl that was one of her only misses.
Look, you know what? He was one of those guys who constantly got holding penalties and just thought, well, the holding penalty in the first was the same as the holding penalty on the last drive of the game when we had the 10-second runoff and it cost us the game. It's the same penalty. Mr. Mills, you're an idiot.
So I appreciate the support from, supporting cast and things like that. But obviously, even when you have individuals, whether you like or dislike, and, he and I, we get along well. And then I go and bring up something like that. And he's, I'm like, oh, I thought we were on the same page. And obviously, we are very far apart. And I can't come to an agreement with you over the fact that she lost her team the game. She could have at least taken it to overtime by having made that free throw, and I can understand whatever happens then happens, because when you go to overtime, it's 0-0, right? It is. Everything is null and void. You're starting over again. You have a tip-off. You have 5 minutes. Who's going to score the most in 5 minutes? That's all there is to it. And I thought that's what we were going to get. I'm sorry. But for Arizona, Ari McDonald misses the jumper to end the game. They lose by 1. But I'm giving credit to the parental involvement, and they did highlight her family and kept on showing them. And I'm sure that the father is very, very proud of Ari McDonald. This segment is not to speak on her as trash, because that's not who she is. She's an incredible athlete, and she came back, and I'm sure that she's going to go play in the WNBA because the girl can play some ball.
They said she was declaring.
Yeah?
As a freshman. So she said she gone.
Well, she's a senior now.
I misspoke. It's
another cat?
Another female. She's a freshman point guard coming out, WNBA. She's
from Arizona?
She's the number 2 prospect. I don't know where she's from.
Okay. Well, we'll figure that out, too.
Figure that out.
We give it a check on that. We got an
Where's our extra producer at? What is he doing? He's supposed to be helping.
Fact checks right now. The laptop's supposed to be out. I'm not even going to, I guess we just missed the mark. So it's whatever. But parents' involvement in the game, I believe that is so incredible. And I know that it's there as well for the men's side. But to me, there's nothing like it to be able to have that kind of support, because when I was growing up and I was playing ball and playing football, not basketball, because that was just for fun, and I told no one to come because I didn't want to see how trash I was. Though, when we were playing the 270 hoops, or when we were broadcasting for the 270 hoops All-Star game the other day, upon leaving the court, someone passed me a ball at the 3-point line, and I drained it. So it's kind of like just simple, you just shoot the ball and you the flick of the wrist and yada. So I'm not going to get too hung up on that, but my mother never came to any of my football games, and she asked me if it was cool, and I knew she didn't understand sports or like it, and her excuse was that she didn't want to see me get beat up, and I'm like, Mom, I'm the biggest kid. How am I going to get, I don't know.
So dad came, mom didn't come?
Yeah. Mom was being an actress and stuff. Mom, shout out, I love you. She was out in Cali for a little while when I was about 8, doing her thing and supporting her dreams to become an actress. And then she just became a business owner there after, when she came home, and she was just like, yo, it's hard, go out to Hollywood and this dog eat dog. She was doing that in the game at 30 plus years old. Meanwhile, my dad, when he was broadcasting and he was on television, he was doing that in the 80s before he even met her. So, he lived his dream before he met her. And then when, they were together, and after I was a little older, then he decided that she should go out to live her dream too. But they're showing about me and my family. But yeah, I'm a little bit bitter that Mom wasn't there. But, I would have still liked to have had her there. That's all there is to it. I have a new coaching hire for you. We discussed briefly last week how Indiana and UNC had some vacancies. And, well, ding, 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 UNC has found their selection. And there was talk over who might be taking over there. And I really didn't like any of those candidates, except for Hubert Davis. We talked about last week how it made sense if Hubert Davis was to be the next coach. You keep a lot of the recruits in line. Surely he's going on a lot of these visits. He's in home with these players. Obviously a lot of the same philosophies. And I'd like to be able to see what they're going to do, and if they're going to do anything different, if at all, in this program. And heck, I love to see it. And once again, people will take snippets of anything that you put online. Media is a very powerful tool. And someone brought to my attention yesterday, did you see that Hubert Davis, the coach at UNC, said that he's proud that his wife is white? So obviously, I take to Google immediately, and I'm like, okay, that statement didn't even hold relevance to me, but the person who brought it to me, I'm like, well, I know you can read because you read something, and let's just see if it was right. So I'm just fact-checking. I want to know what was actually said. What was actually said? Does anyone just stand up? I'm like, so when did he say that? Like, why would he say that, right?
Just a blanket statement.
Yeah, just proud my wife is white.
Right. Okay. What?
Okay. So I'm like,
there's got to be more to the story.
So I'm like, okay, well, person who just told me this and delivered me this news, thank you. I appreciate it, but like, you brought this to me because why? And I'm like, you know what? And I'm talking about that. I tell these people all the time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm talking about that on my show tomorrow. I'd really love to be able to figure out. I know he's the new hire. I've been preparing for this all week. I want to know why he said that his wife is white and he's proud. I go in further, and I'm now reading a full article that has statements, and people just want to take snippets of stuff, right? Because it boils the crockpot. It brings controversy. It brings drama.
Excuse me. The crockpot should not be boiling. It's a crockpot.
Well, if you put on the snaps, you see the snaps there? If you go ahead and put the snaps on the top and you don't allow for it, then none of that air is going to be able to be released. And then, yes, the things in there will come to a boil. And that's dangerous. And you don't want that to happen because then it almost turns into like a pressure cooker.
Is that the little knob? Can't you just like turn it down?
You can, and right now it looks like it's off. I think we need to adjust that, but you know what? Let's just say that it's mirrored and it's actually very hot. But if you continue to do that, you can bring the crock pot to a boil, which you don't want to do, okay? Because we know when temperatures start flaring, it's not a good thing. So back to the white wife, and it's great, right? I mean, cool. That's the first thing I'd say. All right, Hubert, great. You got a white wife. You're proud of it. That's awesome. But instead, I looked a little bit further, ended up discovering that during his press conference, they had asked about him being the first black coach in the basketball program at UNC in the history of the school. Awesome. I believe that it's awesome. And he responded similarly by saying he's very proud to be there. He's only the fourth coach over all programs in the history of the school who is black. And he's like, I'm very honored to be here, the first black coach of this basketball program and the fourth overall coach in the entirety of all sports programs at UNC. And he plans on continuing a great legacy and being able to do great things. It was also brought to his attention that, maybe he looks a little bit different. And that he mentioned that how he's proud to be black. He's proud that his wife is white. And he's also proud that they were able to, go half and be able to make children, who look different and who are different. And so, I'm paraphrasing this, but you can find the entire statement of him saying, I'm proud to be black. I'm proud that my wife is white. And I'm proud that we came together to be able to make 3 beautiful children. Right? So just bringing to light that, I'm not your average guy from North Carolina. I don't look like any of those guys from North Carolina. But hell, I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud my wife is white, and I'm proud to be able to have the kids that we created together. So it was just in light of, I'm sure, to be able to give recognition to his wife. But, I was almost thinking for a second, okay, does it hold merit that his wife is white? So perhaps, maybe he got the job because his wife is white, as opposed to his wife being not white? I don't know.
Nah, he got the job because he a Tar Heel. They don't hire outside of family.
No,
so.
So I'm like, okay, cool. And sometimes I call me naive, call me sheltered. Sometimes I really just don't get the entire, everything has to end up being brought back to race. There are several coaches every year who are probably more eligible than others. I get the Steve Nash thing, though, in Brooklyn. There are many eligible coaches who have been better. And the color of their skin is different. But Stephen A. Smith often brings up the fact that, and it's this and it's that. And I'm just like, how about it just be the best candidate? Can we just have it the best candidate? But I get it that race is a social construct that is. And if you could look up.
In America, social construct in America.
And there has been several definitions. You know what? There's some book that says how not to be a racist or something ignorant like that. I'm not going to apologize for it. There's a book that's something like that, and I just don't like the title. And this gentleman is I believe that he's African American. I believe he's black African American. And by the way, the reason why I rarely will say African American is because I was never taught to say African American. I'm black. My ethnicity is Puerto Rican. As you look at the definitions that get down to the nitty gritty, I'm black. It's the color of my skin, right? I define as a black for race. And we got into this whole argument at a family gathering for Easter. It wasn't an argument. It was a discussion, rather. But then my stepmother went and grabbed, her book or whatever that she's reading, how not to be a racist and whatever. And, the definitions that the gentleman who wrote is just so critical in many ways and going back deep into, the Spaniards in 1400 and all the rest of this stuff. And I'm like, this talk about the social construct, right? That's where it was implemented. And whatever, I don't want to get into it. But, yeah, I was taught just to say black. He's like, I'm black. My dad would always say, I'm black. I'm not from Africa. And, you know what I mean? I was born right here. And I don't know. His definitions could be different. If you want to get technical with it, cool. But, yeah, I prefer just to say black because it is what it is. So, congratulations, though, to Hubert Davis. I'm excited about it because we talked about it last week. And I know that we do have to go ahead and pay some bills right now. So we will go ahead and go on another short break. But when we come back, Bill Self, lifetime contract with Kansas, and some controversy following. We're also going to get into the Sam Darnold trade, and a few other things. We're going to be stirring up the Crockpot here on Score on Air. Once again, loving the comments. Keep those rolling on in here at Score on Air. You can go ahead and visit the page, Score on Air Network. On Facebook, we're live here.
Excuse me, Julian. We don't have any comments.
We don't have any comments?
No, sir, we don't have any comments.
Whose page was I looking at? Oh. Hey, y'all, comment, like, subscribe. What's wrong? I don't know what's going on. Okay, look, you know what, though? You know what? I don't know what you're saying right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that as disrespect. All right? I don't know if y'all know what movie that's from, but I don't know. I'm not even going to go there. If you don't know it, then that's just on you. All right. So, talked about Hubert Davis, talked about the championships. Let's talk about Bill Self. Bill Self agrees to a lifetime agreement. And, I mean, for me, it's like, great job, right? Because there's many guys like Sean Miller who were amidst an FBI investigation for all of the stuff that they do to be able to get these guys to sign. More on guys getting stuff to do or getting people to do things. Or
Nick Saban.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So with Bill Self being the way that he is, I'm like, okay, cool. Kansas, and I believe that I brought it up that Mr. McDougal, the Dublin Scioto graduate who ended up with Seattle, is now with the Jets, I believe on the active roster still, was the only one to ever play for their football program. But we're not talking about football. We're talking about basketball. We're talking about Bill Self. What they're able to do to get individuals to sign to their team is likely their own business. However, he caught so much disrespect after agreeing to a lifetime because they don't have a true athletic director right now. It's actually boosters on the board, and this is Twitter chat. So fact check it, please, and go ahead and throw them down in the comments. But what I'm saying is, why are you sweating him? Why are you sweating me, Keith? Why are you all up in mine when I'm still winning and I'm still getting it done? Bill Self, 2021. I don't understand, and maybe I'm not supposed to understand, but if he's winning and you have someone who's to be hired and until convicted of a crime, which I don't know if they're still doing the investigations, whatever, because it's been so long since they were pulling up recordings from Sean Miller and doing this and doing that. I'm in like disbelief. Like, why are you so upset? Who was going to be the successor? Why are you mad that Bill Self signing for a lifetime?
I mean, you know what this whole thing reminds me of? It just reminds me that, man, some people just know how to stay on code, man. Some people just know how to keep to it. And maybe Sean Miller went on ahead and bit the bullet for a bunch of them. And, you know, you just don't know how that is.
But also, Sean Miller did not perform the way that they had liked for him or what they expected.
When's the last time Arizona won the title? Mike Bibby, Miles Simon? That's a long time ago.
For the assistant producer to be able to pull up some of that stuff. I'm looking at Arizona's last championship.
97.
Really
it's 97.
And I need a fact check on that 97, but I trust you, PBC. But what I need to know, though, is, look, so you brought Sean Miller in to do this. We heard the recordings. That was plastered everywhere, but it's also been like 3 years since that happened. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't able to do anything in those 3 years. If you're unable to perform and you're cutting up, it's time for you to go.
Well, they was watching him. You couldn't pay him how he needed to pay the recruits. Do you know?
See, look, yeah. So when you have the people watching at your doorstep and they got surveillance on you and whatnot, that's like the mob. I saw some stuff on the mob or whatever back in New York and how they were doing the surveillance on them cats. Absolutely insane. Yeah. Absolutely unreal. Where they're like, got different cars following you. And that stuff was like back in the 80s, right, man. So that's crazy. So imagine what they're doing now. They got drones out there following Sean Miller. He's paranoid. He's looking over his shoulder all the time. To me, whatever. But it's not about Sean Miller. It's about Bill Self. And Bill Self being able to agree to a lifetime. Congratulations, Bill Self. I just had to bring up the disclaimers.
How old is Bill Self? I mean, because if you think about it, a lifetime contract for Bill Self, was that like 10 more years?
He's not that old. He's been there for a while, but he's also he's one of the top 4 paid coaches in the NCAA for basketball. And he's making over $7 million a year, and that's dating back to the 2017-2018 season.
Does he make more than Gino Auriemma?
I'm going to go on a limb and say yes, because I don't know who that is.
He's 58.
Oh, the women's UConn basketball coach?
Oh, I was just discussing men's.
Yeah, we were just talking about paper.
But Gino... Okay, I get the name. Okay, thank you for that. But yeah, I wouldn't have recognized it. And why? It's because we don't emphasize some of the women's sports we should be. Now, I know that UConn is badass. I know UConn goes out and takes care of business week after week. And I mean, through when season's in session. But obviously they came up short this year. And Stanford, I didn't pay that much attention to it, but I know that Stanford went and got it done. And Gino is obviously a great coach. But yeah, they got to be paying that man bazooka bucks to be going out there doing what he's doing. But I don't know. I figured that it would be guys like Bill Self. It would be guys like Roy Williams, Krzyzewski, and then Jay from Villanova.
Jay Wright?
Jay Wright.
I don't think Jay Wright's number 4. I know
bread?
Mike's number 1 for sure.
Who?
Duke, Mike Krzyzewski, yeah. Coach K is number 1, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But Roy Williams had to have been up there, I'm sure, and then now he's retired.
Oh, Calipari.
Yeah, Calipari.
Calipari's got to be up there. That Kentucky.
Not going anywhere.
No.
Boeheim. Okay, I heard of Boeheim in there, which is insane because it's like. And talk about someone doing wrong. Remember when we talked about how he hit those people and had a hit and run, and I'm sure that someone died. And still has his job, and then goes deep into the tournament this year. Like, nothing ever happened 2 years ago. Like, how do you sleep at night? How do you...
Yeah, 3 or 4 shots.
Golly. Like, the same shots he took before he got in the car. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, man. Not to mention, and then it's like, okay, we got the manslaughter from... or no, it wasn't manslaughter. It was... I take that back. The incident with the coach... Andy Reid's son, prior to the Super Bowl.
Oh, my gosh.
Just a straight disaster, and I didn't end up hearing about how the kids are. Hopefully that they are still, recovering, or hopefully they're fully recovered now. But it's just, like, sad. Like, you were leaving practice. Same thing with Boeheim. You were leaving practice. Like, and I get it. Boeheim's old, so his eyes might not be doing what they might be letting in the amount of light they need to in order to be able to see on the freeway. His lights are probably off. There's nothing to say this man isn't senile, but one thing he knows is a 2-3 defense, and he gets it done. I'm just like, when that kind of stuff happens, much like the Deshaun Watson thing, and I'm not even hitting on that today because we don't have enough time for that. But when things start to begin to go wrong, then stuff generally starts to crumble for individuals unless you are just the goat. And you see many examples. Like, I would want to know right now if Tom Brady went out and was on camera with a bunch of exotic dancers and playing poker, what would they do?
Nothing. You know why? Because Tom Brady doesn't work for corporate America. Okay? Tom Brady answers to the NFL, and the NFL has its own set of rules outside of corporate America. They play their own game. So, the commissioner's exempt list, and he'll be called into Tampa Bay, but you got to use a different guy. Tom Brady's not going to work. They're not going to do anything to him.
More on that shortly. Not Tom Brady, but another individual who likes exotic dancers, cigars, and poker. Much like many individuals, but not everyone plasters that all over their social media.
What grown man does not like cigars, bourbon, and dancers?
I don't know. You know what I mean? Somebody,
I don't understand what's going on.
Comment, like, subscribe. Anyway, so Bill Self, congratulations. I wanted to put in the disclaimer that you are receiving a lot of, and luckily they're just not death threats, right? Like, we're happy that you're at that point where, people really can't phase you, because I would just be like, show me the money. You know what I mean? Well, show me the money. Show me the money. So, in addition to that, we have Sam Darnold Can we go ahead and show me sad Sam Darnold? This is what he felt like when he was playing with the Jets. You know, Sammy was so upset. He was distraught. This man, he didn't know what to do with himself, and he knew that he was good enough to be able to play in the NFL. And so many times, you know, you just see him so stressed out, and it's like it's not worth that. He's like 23 years old, 24 years old,
going gray already.
Going gray. Would you look at this man? Look at that. That's like red. It's kind of red. It's just
red is gray.
Whatever. Yeah, it's turning bad. But now my man is in Carolina. Okay, Sam Darnold is happy. Show me happy Sam Darnold. This is what it looks like when you're happy. You know, cue Pharrell song. Happy.
Is that a real smile?
Last time that he was this happy, he was at USC. All right, and so now he's like, you know what? I am free from the shackles of Adam Gase. And really what should end up happening is Adam Gase will be gone eventually.
He's gone.
Oh, okay.
Robert Saleh.
But no, Adam Gase will be gone completely from the NFL, so no one else will have to feel. No one else will have to feel the pain.
You know, how did he even get the Jets job? He was horrible in Miami, and you got the Jets job.
And then you send my boy Brian down there. You send Flores down there to Miami, and Gase is by, and then he goes to the Jets.
And they go the same way.
They're taking whatever they can get.
You know, see.
Which is bad. It's the NFL, man. You have several organizations in the NFL, but one of them being the Jets that can't get it figured out, and the other one being Houston.
I'm not gonna throw those two under the bus. I swear the worst organization is the Detroit Lions. Flat out. It's not even close. We talk about Cleveland. We talk about the Detroit Lions have not won the NFC North ever. The last time they won the division, it was called the NFC Central in 1993. They are absolutely terrible. Sam Darnold, though, to his credit, played with very, very minimal weapons and talent around him. His best receiver was Crowder. He had pretty good in Robbie Anderson. They had a good chemistry last year, but guess where he's at? In Carolina now.
Yep, so he's reunited with Robbie Anderson, and Le'Veon Bell was no help.
Oh, my God.
You know, and then his attitude with everything else, and you know what? But we're going to go ahead because I do have 365 coming in right after this, so make sure that you stay on and stay tuned for All Sports 365 after this show. We're going to go ahead and speed it up a little bit and turn up the Crockpot as we're making our way to all the different taste tests. Lions sign Quentin Dunbar to a year, speaking about how the Lions are bad. And, you know, that's just something that I wanted y'all to know. That was one of the signings from this past week. I threw it in there because I'm like, okay, cool. Because I had some background knowledge of where he came from, and now I could really care less about it. I'm going to be real with you. Russ Probst, something I want to go over with right now. Russ Probst, the old guy from Two-A-Days, my man Russ Probst. Oh my goodness.
Looking super old.
I was just so old, and I remember when he was like had that chunk, he was actually filled up, and I don't know what he did, got like the stuff with like the stomach, the
Sonabello.
I don't know what it was, dude, but he looks so skinny and just frail now. Goes ahead and throws two coaches under the bus, and Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. We know what they've been doing, but he was caught on a phone call with
blowing
a reporter.
The whistle.
Yes, blowing the whistle on these cats, and he didn't know he was being recorded. But when you start saying stuff like that and make those allegations, Russ Probst, you're wrong for it. And you're coaching at the high school level, so how much could they possibly be giving you out in Colquitt County? I mean,
they're probably giving him at least $10,000 to $5,000 a kid.
Look, I just like, how much money could you be making? And there's a reason why you're not in college, but you're salty right now because you went and blew the whistle on Nick Saban and Kirby Smart for giving $90,000 to $100,000 in installments just to get kids to sign.
Right.
Now, and they were talking about Nick Chubb or something like that too, and I get it. I get it, the fact that it happens. It's just reality. So no matter what Bill Self and all the rest of these cats are doing, it is just Bill Self, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart included. It doesn't matter. These things happen. It's all about, can you prove it? So, I want to go ahead and get into Paul Pierce. Speaking of exotic dancers and cigars and poker, now, Paul Pierce, I would have imagined that when this happened, that he was sad, that he was upset. But instead, He's smiling on Twitter and just hashtagging smile, and he's laughing. He's just straight giggles.
Well, you see the gold just blinging up off of him with the pieces on him. I mean, what is that? What is that on his neck? $50,000 right there? Like, come on, dude. Like, that's what he was making in a year at ESPN. You think this man cares anything about that? You see, he was jugging. He probably made his salary just hosting the gambling night. Are you kidding me right now?
He was just having fun. And I say that literally, he was just having fun. Like, he's just having fun now, and he made the majority. I mean, his career was playing basketball. And when you ask someone to come on ESPN, they're like, all right, cool, yeah, that's fine. Like, they're not worried about what you're paying them. They know that you're going to go ahead and pay them, so pay them. You know? But I thought that Paul Pierce might be sad, like when he had to be carted off the court, you know, when he had to go pee. Which, obviously, whatever. I mean, you know, if you got to go pee, you got to go pee. But, you know, I thought he was going to be hurt by it. But one thing that we started talking about was, hey, Barstool Sports never really know what's going to happen. But I'm sure that Dave, old Pizza Dave, is going to go ahead and pick him up, especially since he's cleared a little cap space in there with the parting of Michael Rappaport and not having to pay too much more on the court cost. So, in addition to that, I've got a little Crock O sit for you. And today, PBC, I'm bringing to you, Lakers currently 5th. They missed the playoffs. Crock or sit?
That's a crock of sit.
Okay. Well, I was going to go ahead and sit it too. And they should still make the playoffs. They're only 6 games behind first, but it's just that the team who's in 8th, I guess, is probably 3 or 4 games from where they are. So the margins are just so much smaller in the West. Mark Few leaves Gonzaga. Crocker sit.
Sit that. He's staying. That's his home. He's making that Duke.
Oh. I would just like to see them in a different conference in the future years.
Pac-12, I believe that Pac-12 will come calling them. Yeah.
You get a lot more clout from me on that. I will sit that as well. And Justin Fields falls out of the top 10. A lot of rumors right now on whether or not he's actually the hard worker who he's been explained to be. Crocker sit.
This is a sit. If you watch Prolific Sports tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I got a 20-minute segment on Justin Fields and the explanation on why I think he is my number 1 quarterback.
Woo! And I love it. I love to see it. Sit that. He does not fall out of the top 10 given all the rest of these garbage. I mean, I'm sure there's betting on this, right? Where people are going. And don't believe the hype. He's not falling out of the top 10. Given the 3-4 teams who are selecting first, there's no way. Aaron Rodgers retires to become the host of Jeopardy.
I'm going to crock that.
I'm going to throw it in the crock pot. If you get $30 million and they say, we're going to put you on this contract, you're not going to get hit. You're just going to talk to people and give answers. He would have the time of his life. Throw it in the crock pot, stir it up, and heat it, baby. That's all we have for you today. Please stay tuned for All Sports 365. You're watching the crock pot on Score on Air.